All right, everyone, welcome back to class. Once you have Unity installed, let's go ahead and create our project. You could see I already have a project called 2D Games. And what I usually do is I'll create a project and whatever I want to learn. So say I tend to do like 6 month, like just pure learning projects where I'll just draw for 6 months straight. And that'll be what I do in my spare time to improve those skills, or programming or modeling, 3D modeling. So, and what I'll do is within this one project, I'll create a bunch of little 2D games that mimic games throughout history. So, for example, Pong and all that other good stuff. So, what we're going to do is something similar. So, I'm going to go ahead and click on New Project here. And under project name, I'm going to name it 2D Game Projects with an S. And we're going to be using Unity Cloud, and we also want to use version control here. Now, it might give me an error if it can't find your organization. You want to make sure there's no spaces in your name. It tends to have problems with that. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and click this Create Project button, and I'm going to pause the video because it's going to take a moment. But before you do that, make sure that it had 3D Core selected. We want 2D URP selected because we're going to be making 2D games. Now, the difference briefly between Core and Universal Render Pipeline is Universal Render Pipeline has a much more beautiful renderer where you can write shaders and things like that, which in another class I get into shader writing, but for now, maybe we'll do some basic stuff. Just let me know if you're interested as we go throughout this class. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit Create Project and pause the video. One other thing I want to point out is when you click Create Project, you're going to get this Unity splash screen that appears. You're going to have this green bar here that's going to indicate the progress, as well as down here it says Unity Package Manager. It's going to tell you the number of packages installing as it goes. So really, it's just kind of a nice progress, and hence why I'm pausing the video, because it usually takes a few minutes to get this up and running. Okay, so here is what we're going to build in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. We're building a menu here. We can scale this menu up and down. We have a background image. We can highlight. We're going to create a start button and a quit button. When we click on it, it turns yellow. What we'll do in the next video is we'll wire this all up. We'll create a script that will allow us to load another level. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and create a fresh scene. All right, so what you want to do is, the first thing we're going to do is try to set up our layout so it looks like this. I think by default, your layout looks like this when you first create a Unity level. So I mean, we can keep it this way if you like it and you have some experience in Unity. I tend to do 2x3. I like this view. And then I'll take my my project tab and I'll drop underneath my hierarchy here. And then I take this project tab because it's nice to see these large icons. It's helpful, but sometimes it's nice to just see it as a one column. So I'll switch between 1 and 2 column layout. So something like this. And let's see. Let's create some folders inside our assets folder. So the way you create a folder is I right click and I go to create and I make a folder. Now, I already have a few folders set up here. I have one with an underscore scripts. So you can see it says underscore scripts folder. Now, go ahead and create that folder. And the reason why I put an underscore there is it automatically raises it to the top of the stack of folders. And then I created another folder called art. Now, contained within this art, I have another folder called mm background. And what that's doing is that's saving this letter art background. So I would pause the video now, just kind of look at it, and then create 4 folders. Let me go ahead and delete that new folder. A underscore scripts folder, an art folder, and which is just main menu background. You could just name it background folder. It's just if we want to switch between different background art, and then prefabs. Now, let's go ahead and pause it and create those folders and come back. Okay, now that you're back, I provided you this image here, this letter art background image that I created, because we're going to be creating a very basic game where you have a bucket and then letters are dropping from the sky. And it looks like all of these, let's see, main menu. I think we'll talk about that later, but your camera might have actually a different sort of background. So let's see. I think let me make a new scene just so you could see what that's like. I think the default is, let's see. basic 2D built-in. Let's see, Lit 2D URP. I think this is the one that you might be looking at. Yeah, yours probably looks more like this. Okay, so the way what we're going to do next is import in this image. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it out of my folder. Go ahead and save it to your downloads folder, and then right-click on this mm_background, and I want you to go to import new asset, and then just go to your letter art background and then import it. Mine was in my downloads, and you can see it's here. Now, the first thing we want to do when creating a main menu is we want to set up our background scene. Now, go ahead and change from free aspect to 16:9. This image is in 16:9 aspect ratio. And what we're really doing here is we're trying to set it up so that it always scales for any device. You can make this game for pretty much any monitor or whatever. It might be a little off, but I'm going to show you guys how to do that when we get into more advanced lessons. So let's go ahead and set up this background. So the first thing we need is a canvas, and that's going to be, you can think about it like a painting canvas, and this is what we're going to be using to paint our UI, buttons and so forth. So I'm going to right click in here, and I'm going to go to UI, and I'm going to create a canvas. Now, you can name this main menu canvas. We're going to have a separate canvas, which is going to deal with all of our 2D art assets in the next game. But here's our main menu canvas, and I just did canvas. And I left click on it, and inside this view, I'm middle mouse clicking the pan. I'm going to hit F to focus, F like Frank, and that shows me the entirety of my canvas view. Now, again, forgive me, I'm assuming that you have a little bit of experience in Unity. If you need more help, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to just meet with you over Teams or Zoom to help you out. All right, so here's our canvas. Now, there's really nothing special or important about it just yet, except that it's this empty area. Now, let's create that background image to put our letter art on. There's a couple ways to do this. I can actually just left click on this and drag it on there, and it automatically creates this sprite render image. I'm going to delete that because I want to show you the full way of doing it. I can also right click and go to UI here, and I can just go to image. And you'll see we have this rect transform, and below it we have, it looks a little bit different, right? We have a couple different options, but we have this image panel here, and I'm going to grab this, I'm going to drop it on there. The other thing that's different is it's not scaled up. So for example, if I want to pin this so that it's set across the whole thing and it's stretched out, you'll see up here in our rect transform section, this is where we can actually adjust the width, height, and so forth of our object. I want to go ahead and undo that and leave it as 100 by 100. But I'm going to click in here, and this is our anchor preset. This is where you could set the pivot point and things like that of your image. I'm going to hold Alt, and you'll see here there's like a stretch. So I can stretch it vertically, I can stretch it in the middle vertically, but here I can stretch it all the way around at all four corners so that it encompasses the whole area, and it looks pretty good. And also when I scale this, you can see that it's scaling with the frame size. Now, there is something here where it says canvas scaler, where it's at constant pixel size. This is actually going to give us trouble later. We want scale with screen size. I'm not going to change it yet. I just want to show you what that is. So what I'd like to do is create a panel here. A lot of times you'll have a little bit more art or decorative art. I didn't have time to create that for you. So you could go in and do that if you have some graphic design skills. Is just go in here and go to UI, and then we're just going to create a panel. And I want to make sure that this panel is sitting behind the image, right? So this is the image is in the front. I'm sorry, we want the image sitting behind the panel. So this panel is in front. Now, what you can do is you can adjust the size of our panel, or if you hit T, like it normally comes by default like this, like where it's on selection mode, so you can move the panel around. We're going to hit T, and that allows us to just set it looks like it's locked. Oh, because I'm on canvas. Sorry, I want to be on panel. I'm going to hit T, and that'll allow us to sort of free transform or set this panel here. Let's see. And we can kind of do, let's see what 400 and then 400 from the right looks like. That might look, that doesn't look too bad. So that's kind of centering it a little bit. And then we can actually just kind of, if you select these, you can see there's middle, stretch. We're adjusting the pivot point of the anchor presets. If we hold shift, you can see here, we can move the pivot. That's where it rotates. I'm going to hold Alt and click in the middle, and that really centers the image for us. And on this panel, I have the panel selected. I'm going to right-click, go to UI, and I'm going to go to Button. Now, if your text does not appear here, search around your screen for your other monitor. There might be a Text Mesh Pro box. For some, it happens, and some it doesn't. It pops up asking you to import essentials. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's our button. I'm just going to name this, change this button to Start Button. And then I'm going to expand this here, and I'm going to change the text here from Button to Start. Now back in this view, I'm going to go ahead and hit W for move. I'm just going to move, I want to make sure I move the whole button up. And then I'm going to hit Control D on this, and I'm going to change this to Quit. Quit button. And I'm just going to double click this and copy it and get rid of that one. And then under the quit here, the text, I'm just going to change this to quit. Now you'll notice that you're like, wait, where's my start button go? It's here, but it's not showing up here. And the reason for that is anything that's lower in the stack is on top of the other thing. So we just want to make sure we select our quit button here, and we just shift it down below it. Now for this background panel, let's go ahead and change the color, maybe to like a dark blue. We can also eyedrop from our scene here. Let's see, that navy. And it also grabbed the color and it adjusted the alpha a little bit. So you can leave it a little bit transparent depending on how you like that. And there's our main menu panel. Now, if we want to adjust things like, I'm going to go ahead and press play so we can test this out. You can see as I highlight over, these don't change colors. We don't really know if this menu is active. Here's another thing we need to fix is the scaling here. So what we can do is, first, let's adjust that scaling issue. So I'm going to select MM Canvas. I'm going to change it from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. Or I'm sorry, constant physical size. So now, no, that's right. I had it right the first time, scale with screen size. So now when I scale this up or down, you can see it scales with the size of the screen. And I also might want to adjust my panel a little bit. That kind of is covering my bucket, and that'll take away from the game. So I'm going to hit T here. Let's see. Just kind of adjust this a little bit here. And, you know, because we want people to understand, like, just from the main menu alone that, like, oh, okay, this is like a button collecting letters learning game. And so we don't want to obstruct that background too much, but we also want people to know, like, hey, here's our start button, here's our quit button. And we can adjust the scale of these two a little bit by selecting both and just kind of, you know, if it's a kid's game, we want the buttons to be big too, so it's easily, they have easy access to the buttons. All right, so let's select our start button here. And when we highlight over this with the mouse, let's say we want it to be green, like bright green. And then when we press the color, we want it to be, I don't know, we'll do yellow or something. So a couple of jarring colors there, but for now, just to really show things are working, let's go a little bit more yellow on this one. So now when I press play, if I highlight over, it turns green, so they know which one they're selecting. And if I click on it, it turns yellow. All right, so that really concludes this. I'm going to make sure that we save this. Let's do that. So save as. And you'll see there's a default scenes folder here. So let's do File, Save As. Oh, we're in play mode, so we can't really. Something also to keep in mind is if you're in play mode and you do any changes, it will not save the updates. So let's try that one more time. Save as, there we go. And then I'm going to go into my scenes folder, and I'm just going to call this main menu. And I'm going to save this. And so this level is saved. And what we're going to have it do in the next video is we're going to program the quit and we're going to program the level 1.